Welcome to podcast number 54. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for wanting to take the next step in your writing. Thanks for the people that have written in. Thanks to the people that have donated as well. It's very much appreciated. I also want to take some time to thank my sponsor. Oh, right, no sponsor. No music, no intro music, no sponsor. We're just going to jump right into it. All right, here we go. I do want to thank my instructors, and the reason I want to thank my instructors is because they have to put up with all of my questions. They have to put up with all of my thoughts, and these guys challenge me absolutely just as much as anybody else, and also my peer group who does the same thing. The nice thing about working with all of these people is you benefit from it, right? You're behind the scenes. There's so much going on with trying to make what I do, my methodology, is as good as it can be. And the amount of time that we invest in that behind the scenes is pretty gobsmacking. And even to the people that are helping out produce this podcast as well, so they know who they are, and I thank them very much for that. So this podcast comes from those conversations with my instructors and my peer group. And one of the common denominators that we get from our clients is wow, when I do things the way that you want, I feel slow. I feel slow. The process feels slower, and they're used to kind of being a feeling fast, which is really when we break down why they're feeling fast, a lot of it has to do with this. The bottom line is they're out of control. So it feels fast, right? The bike is sliding around. They've got all this crazy corner speed. They're using way too much lean angle, and it feels fast. It feels fast, but I can guarantee it's not. When you see these people that are, basically arms are flailing, they're throwing, shifts at the thing. They're moving side to side on the bike, and, the bike is sliding around and moving around on entries, and you're going slower. That's all there is to it. You're going slower. We saw that absolutely. Two places where we saw it. We saw it with the first MotoGP race of the year. 2018. The riders that led the race the most were the riders that had the bike most in line, and the riders that respected the slowest part of the corner the best, most deliberately. The rider that finished second was a rider that was literally just sending the thing in, way more lean angle, on the side of the tire, didn't have direction, and that's how it is, right? It looked fast, but that's not what won the race. That's all there is to it. So feeling fast versus being fast. And the first part of that, it really comes from two places. One is not respecting where the bike's got to be slowed and pointed. I don't care if it's an R3. I don't care if it's a Yoshimura 1000. I don't care. Looking at the corner, whatever the specific corner radius is, and of course what the bike is, there's a place where the bike has to be slowed and pointed, pause, so you can accelerate for a longer period of time. You have to respect that place. And there's times where it feels so slow. Talking to my riders, talking to my road racers that just completed the Daytona flat track. And part of what they felt they did the best at was respecting where the bike had to be slowed and pointed. It's pretty much that simple. Now, I'm not saying get the bike into the corner so slow that your entry sucks and everybody passes you. No, what I'm saying is don't get into the corner at 100% past you or your bike's ability. Again, pause. That ruins your exit. That's all I'm saying. So the first part of this, feeling fast versus being fast, is you need to respect where the bike's got to be slowed and pointed so you can accelerate for a longer period of time. That's it. Second part of this is, and this is when we really dove into this, is we realized that riders that didn't have a technique, well, when you don't have a technique, your brain is completely acting off of emotion and being reactive. So I got to go fast everywhere. I got to go fast. I got to go fast. Got to go fast. So you're constantly playing off that emotion. You don't have a technique to actually implement. So your brain is trying to speed up thinking about, oh, where can I go quicker? Where can I go quicker? So when you have technique available, suddenly you can have a proactive thought process. Well, if you have a proactive thought process, guess what? Your brain slows up. And again, no different than working with the people in my peer group in their disciplines, which, and everybody's heard this, which is, oh, when my best laps, I felt like everything was in slow motion. Yeah, because your brain's ahead of the bike. And there's times where you're like, oh, I'm gonna, I've got to get going. But I can tell you the riders I've worked with at a very, very high level, they may go, yeah, that whatever, that qualifying lap, that thing, I felt like I was on the edge. Well, right, they were flirting with the limits, not blowing past the limits. So you see how that works? Is they're flirting with the limit, not blowing past them. And to do that, again, we need the technique and the proactive thought process. So the reason we see people thinking they feel fast but aren't is because they're just trying to go fast everywhere. They're not respecting where the slowest point of the corner is, and they're not using technique. So their brain is completely overwhelmed. To be fast, we work on understanding where the bike's got to be slowed and pointed. And then we also work on having the proactive thought process that comes from technique. I can tell you there's so many corners where you literally think you can get off your bike, put the kickstand down, get off, have a cup of coffee, whatever, and then get back on your bike and go. That's how slow it feels. Guess what? That's about right, because that's what that corner offers. So, the flip side of this is, what makes it feel slow? What is the rider doing to make it feel that way? And where that comes from is, again, respecting where the slowest part of the corner is. And it's also respecting technique. It's, again, I'm going to go back and say it again, the proactive versus reactive thought process, right? Proactive is having time available to make a decision based on your learned techniques. So if you have that, suddenly your brain slows down because now you have all these choices to be able to say whatever the most accurately way to get into the corner is, versus reactive, where you don't have any time available. So if you don't have any time available, you're going to fall back on whatever the highest level of training you had is. And if you don't have any training, well, then your brain's going to be freaked out. So proactive versus reactive. I want to take this one more step, which is, let's take you through the order of the sport and see how this all fits into that. So the order of the sport, right, is our bike placement. So if you're not respecting where the bike needs to be slowed and pointed, right? If you're not respecting how the bike is on entry, how you're not respecting your exit apex, yeah, it's going to feel fast. If you're offline using tons of lean angle, right? If you're not respecting that, it's going to feel fast, but I can guarantee it's not. Again, watch the MotoGP race, right? The guy that had the best bike placement, basically the two guys that had the best bike placement are the guys that won the race or led the race. So it's going to feel quick if you're offline. It's going to feel quick if you're using too much lean angle. So that's why now, if you don't respect direction, yeah, you're going to be constantly trying to gather the thing back up. Vision and focus. Yeah, if your eyes aren't in play, your technique's not in play. It's that simple. So if your eyes aren't working, right, if your encompassing vision's not working, everything is going to be sped up. So the more that we get our eyes to work and concentrate on those 5 specific reference points, then it's going to make your job a lot easier. It's going to slow down your thought process. So how we use our eyes, how they scan, the specific points, going to slow everything down and make your job so much easier. Motor controls. Think about this one, right? If we're using all of these reactionary motor controls, right? Stab, grab, all these different things, it feels quick because your brain can't keep up with it. So if you jam on the throttle at whatever it is, well, then you're not sure how the bike is going to react. And if you're not sure, then your brain's got to use all that space to literally catch up to the situation. If you sneak open the throttle deliberately, well, then you know exactly where that's going to be, and then you'll get to wide open throttle sooner. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. So, motor controls. Remember, if you're aggressive with the motor controls, you're late with them. It's that simple. So, brake adjustability. Another one. If you're not using your brakes correctly for the upcoming radius, whatever that radius is or whatever that situation is, it's also what's going to speed up your thought process. It's going to feel crazy fast, but it's not. If you're off the brakes too early, you go back to the throttle. Well, that's not going to work. If you apply too much brake pressure and then your brain gets overwhelmed because you overslowed your entry, right? That also feels like, oh man, I'm really getting in the corner. Good brake. Oh wow, yeah, I braked way too early. So having that proper brake adjustability, again, proactive with it. Turn-in rate, turn-in point. Yeah, this is one we see a lot. Really, crazy late turn-in points, super fast turn-in rates. It's going to upset the bike. Again, we want to adjust for whatever the radius is. If it's a radius that offers or early turn-in but at a slow rate, oh my gosh, it makes things so much easier. If it's a corner that offers a later turn-in but a quicker turn-in, shorter radius corner, how you initially move your body is what sets the stage up for that, right? That first 5% of how you move your body. So again, if we just see you jumping around the seat, upsetting the bike, well, of course it's going to feel crazy fast, but again, in reality, it's not. I read a really cool little comment, right, which is never confuse movement for action, right? You can have improper movement that doesn't actually correlate to the proper action that you want. So let's not confuse it, right? Let's have very deliberate movement for a very deliberate action. And the last one, body position and body timing. We talked a little bit about that, how you're jumping around on the bike. How, again, we don't want to do that, right? How you move across the seat, how you use those feet, how you're unweighting. It's interesting because if you have a lot of weight on your inside arm, you're all tensed up, it actually feels pretty quick. And if you're more relaxed on the bike and you don't have that. So body position and body timing, right? How you're moving across the seat, how you're adjusting for whatever the situation is. When you start to combine, the turn-in rate, the proper turn-in rate and turn-in point with that proper body position and body timing, again, it makes your job so much easier. It makes it so much more relaxed. And again, then your brain's able to absorb that information. So there you go. Feeling fast versus being fast. And I think this is something that we need to look at more in our sport. And it's going to make much more of a relaxed situation. It's going to allow you a deeper thought process on it. And it's going to allow a much more enjoyable riding experience. So what makes it feel slow? What makes it feel like you're actually doing it the right way? Again, it's respecting where the bike's got to be slowed and pointed, and it's your thought process, proactive versus reactive. So there you go. Let's go try this one.
Copyright 2018, Ken Hill Coaching, all rights reserved.